Hello delegates. I hope you all are doing great. You all are doing well. So, the basic point of we all being here today is that we are going to do a run through the basic guide for youth parliament. That how do we debate in a youth parliament, and what are the basic rules of procedures, and what are the basic ROP. So, I'll be doing a run through to it, and then we can move to your doubts. So, the first call or the first thing in any MUN conference or in any youth parliament debate, it is always going to be a roll call. So, in roll call, at the beginning of each committee session, a roll call is conducted to ensure the presence of the delegates. And in order to ensure that you are there in the committee and you are present, the roll call is done. And how do we see that our presence? There are two ways of responding to a roll call. First is present, and second is present in voting. When you say present, then you are left with three options during the whole session. First one is yes, second is no, and third is abstain. So if you are saying present and voting, that indicates that you will vote to every resolution in the committee, and then you're left with only two options, that is yes to a resolution or yes to an agenda, or no to a resolution or no to an agenda. Abstain you cannot do in the case of present and voting. Second is quorum. So in order to set up a committee, in order to begin with the committee, we need a quorum. And what is the quorum for any committee? It is one third. One third of the committee members should be present there in order to begin or to commence with the committee. And if there is no quorum, then no debate can take place. Then is the setting of the agenda. That is prior to debating, what we go through is called setting up of the agenda. How do we set up an agenda, or how do the motion to set up an agenda is raised? Is through the delegate of country wishes, the delegate of whichever country, let's say the delegate of India, the delegate of India wishes to raise a motion to change the order of agenda from 1.2 to 2.1. Then is the provisional speakers list. So what is that? That is once we have set the agenda for the committee. After that, a motion is raised to open the provisional speakers list. This list ensures that the delegates deliver their opening speeches, like the OS that is there. OS stands for opening speeches. So for every committee or for every agenda, there are opening speeches made to that agenda. And in that opening speech, what happens in the opening speech is you basically go through your country's stance. What is your country's stance on that agenda? For example, if the agenda of the committee is Article 370 and Article 35A, and it's basically about Kashmir issue. So you have to, and you are from the portfolio of India. So you will represent what is India's stance on Kashmir issue. Similarly, other delegate will be given the portfolio of delegate of Pakistan. Then the delegate of Pakistan will explain his or her country's stance on that issue. And that is what we say in an OS. OS is basically you are supposed to represent your country's stance. OS can never be like, let's say, I have like, there are many newer delegates that do this, that they basically start explaining their whole country and everything. Like, hi, I'm Bahrain, I'm in the islands of this and that. This is not what we do in our opening speech. What we do in our opening speech is we explain the country's stance or country's position with respect to the agenda. And how do we raise the motion for that? It is the delegate of dash the country wishes to raise a motion to open the provisional speakers list. That's that is how we begin with the committee or begin with the debates. The first thing that happens is setting of the agenda. Then is the provisional speakers list (PSL), and then after that, the committee begins with the opening speeches. What is the benefit of saying? I've For your doubts, guys. I'll be taking your doubts once I am in begin. Like I am end with this, then we can take your doubts. Great. Then we have points, different points. So what are basically points? Points are basically raised in a committee when you want to seek clarification and when you want to address some specific concerns. So the first point here, this is a very basic point, that is point of personal privilege. You are supposed to raise the point of personal privilege when you are having any inconvenience in the committee. Let's say that I'm sitting in the committee for almost 1 hour now for 40 minutes, and I wish to use the restroom, or I just want to go out because the committee is becoming too hectic and everything, and I want to get excused from the committee for a minute. And that is when we use the point of personal privilege. Or let's say the delegate is speaking very fast, or you are not able to hear the delegate, or the delegate is speaking very feebly. Then also we use the point of personal privilege. But one thing that should be kept in mind when using the point of personal privilege is that it should be used sparingly. That is, you should not interrupt other delegate while he or she is speaking. Or you wish to use the restroom, then you must approach the chair and then go to use the restroom and not, disturb the whole committee. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. Then we have another, which is point of order. Point of order is usually used when we want to point out the factual errors or the procedural errors. So, for example, the delegate of India stated that India got independence in 1947. So that is a valid point. But let's suppose that the delegate of India said that India got independence in 1945. Then that is a factual inaccuracy that India didn't got its independence in 1945. It got independent in 1947. So if you are smart enough, if you have done your research and you know everything, like according to the agenda, you know everything, then you can use a point of order and then you can, point out that, pinpoint that factual inaccuracy in the statement of the other delegate. Then we have point of parliamentary inquiry. Parliamentary inquiry is usually used when you are not able to understand what is happening in the committee, or you want to ask the chair regarding anything and about the rules of procedures, what is the ROP, what are we going to do next, and everything. That is when we use the point of parliamentary inquiry. Again, since it is a personal, this is for your personal benefit, so you should not interrupt the ongoing speaker. For example, a speaker is speaking, then you should not, raise a point of parliamentary inquiry. Once the speaker has spoken, the points have been taken. After that, you can raise the point of parliamentary inquiry and ask your doubts. Then we have point of information, which is a very, very important point. Whereas direct questions to another delegate or the other delegate regarding the agenda or the topic are asked. And how do we do it? What is it? It is basically the delegate has speaking. Now you want to ask delegate something regarding his speech or whatever he has spoken till now. You want to address the delegate and ask the delegate question regarding that. So that is when you use a point of information and you ask your question directly to the delegate. Then we have motions. Motions are There are two type of motions that are raised. First one is the moderated caucus. The second one is the unmoderated caucus. Moderated caucus is basically when we want to discuss the sub agenda regarding to our agenda. For example, if our agenda is increasing or increasing access to female education worldwide, this is our agenda. This is our main topic upon which our committee is based. So, what can be the subtopics to this agenda? The subtopics to this agenda can be improvement of teachers, right? Improvement of teachers in schooling systems or getting better schooling systems, something like that. So, if we want to discuss on that subtopic to the agenda, that is how we raise a moderated caucus. Moderated caucus basically is a formal session in which you discuss the subtopics regarding that main topic, regarding that agenda. And how do we raise a moderated caucus motion? That is where we have to specify the topic, we have to specify the total time, and we have to specify the speaking time per delegate. And what is the correct format of it? It is the delegate of country, whatever country you are. Like, for example, let's suppose the delegate of United States of America. The delegate of United States of America would like to suspend formal debate and raise a motion for moderated caucus on the topic, whatever your subtopic is basically. Let's say improvement of improvement of schooling system in India. So the delegate of United States of America would like to suspend formal debate and raise a motion for moderated caucus on the topic, discussion and deliberation on better schooling system for a total time of how many minutes you want, let's say 10 minutes, and each speaker time being 60 seconds. So there are three things that you should keep in mind while raising a moderated caucus is that you specify the topic, you specify the total time, and then you specify each speaker's time. Correct? Done. Then we have unmoderated caucus. Unmoderated caucus is basically an informal session. This is when you want to make alliances, you want to lobby, and you want to make friends in the committee. Let's say friends as in your portfolio's friends, not your friends' friends. For example, if I'm the delegate of Russia and we are fighting on Russia, and the agenda of the committee is Russian-Ukrainian conflict, then I need to make alliances in order to ensure that my stance in the committee is stronger. And how do I make alliances? It is during this unmoderated caucus. So in this unmoderated caucus, I will meet other delegates, I'll meet other countries' portfolios, basically. And then I will try to convince them to become my ally and then to come in my bloc. And how do we raise a motion for an unmoderated caucus? It is the delegate of whatever country would like to suspend debate and would like to suspend formal debate and move into an unmoderated caucus for a total time minute of how many minutes you want. Let's say 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Correct. So are we clear till now? Are there any doubts? Are there any doubts? If yes, please type and let me know. Okay. So seeing none, we move to resolution process. So in what is the resolution process? So like if you know, any youth parliament debate is different from any normal debate because it involves the writing portion as well. Like in normal debates, you will not see any writing portion involved, you will not see any written work involved. But in the resolution process or in any youth conclaves or NMUN conclaves, you will always see the written portion involved. And that written portion is done in the form of working papers or draft resolutions, which are known as DRs. So what are working papers? Working papers are basically, it is a rough draft of the proposed solution to the agenda. It does not follow a specific format, but should present logical, feasible solutions. That is, after you are done with your committee of day one, like in day one, you have your committee sessions. So in those committee sessions, whatever you have discussed till day one, you will be introducing, you will be writing those points. You will be writing whatever solutions you have discussed till now. For example, in order to improve your committee's agenda is improving access to female education. And till now, you have discussed about better schooling system and about better literary programs. So in your working paper, you are going to mention that. You are going to mention about like whatever you have discussed till the day one of the committee. And it should have, logical solutions, not like just random points written. It should have logical, feasible solutions, the solutions that can be actually approached. And working papers then be later developed into draft resolutions. That is, if your working paper is approved, if your working paper passes, then it can be developed into DRs. That is, the points of your working papers can be later added into your draft resolutions. And then we have draft resolutions. Draft resolution is the final document of the committee. There are signatories that are there, and there are signatories, then there are authors, there are co-authors, and like sponsors and authors or sponsors, whatever you may say. So what do they do? Once you are done with the committee on day one and on day two as well, whatever you have discussed till now, whatever solutions were presented in the committee through your moderate caucuses, through your OS, like your opening speeches, that is what you write in the DR. So for DR, there are sponsors. Sponsors are basically the persons who write the DR, who want to write a DR. Those are the sponsors. Then we also have signatories. Signatories are those persons who are willing कि हाँ ठीक है whatever points this DR has, we are willing to introduce it to the committee. Signatories have no voting obligations. It is not necessary that just because someone is a signatory in a specific DR, so वो उस DR को oppose नहीं कर सकते. That is not the case. Authors are supposed to commit to yes, that is authors or sponsors, same thing. They are supposed to say yes to the DR, but signatories, they don't have any obligations. Who are signatories again? Signatories are those persons or those delegates who wish that this particular DR should be introduced in the committee, and they have no obligation of voting. They can vote for it, they can vote against it, and they can abstain against it as well. Whereas sponsors are the persons who write the DR, who are basically presenting the DR, and they are committed to vote yes. That is, they are supposed to support their DR. DR is draft resolution again. Then we have voting. So voting is substantive voting or passing or failure of draft resolution. So voting basically happens in 3 rounds. During the first 2 rounds, voting rights can be requested. If you wish to change your vote in the second round, you forfeit your voting rights. The final round is conducted through a show of placards. So there is substantive voting. What happens in like in voting, there are 3 rounds. During the first round, there are voting rights, that is yes, no, yes with rights, no with rights, and abstain or like pass. So what is yes and no? Yes is basically you're supporting, then supporting the DR. Then no is you are not supporting the DR, you're against it. Then is yes with rights. Yes with rights is when you are saying yes to a DR, but the solutions mentioned in it, they go against your foreign policy. And then you want to explain. Basically, you want to give an explanation कि even though इस DR के points तुम्हारे country के foreign policy के against आ रहे हैं, but you are still supporting it. So if you want to give that explanation on why you want to support that particular DR, then you say yes with rights. And then is no with rights. No with rights is basically when there is a resolution जिसके points are again like उसके points are on the lines of your country's foreign policy. Like whatever points are there in the DR, it is supporting your country's foreign policy. That is what your country's foreign policy is. But then you want to go against it and you do not support the DR. And you want to give an explanation on why you don't want to support the DR. Then is what we use as no with rights. Then there is the final round, which is conducted with a show of placards. Okay, so what are placards basically? Placard is basically a rectangular shape of card in which your country's portfolio is written and it is used as a representative model. So, for example, if in the committee you are there and you wish to speak or you wish to raise a point or you wish to vote, whatever you want to do in a committee, you do it with the help of placard. So, if when you wish to speak when you wish to raise a point, you don't raise your hands, you raise your placard. Because if you raise your hand, you are representing yourself personally. Like if I raise my hand in the committee, I am representing Ananya Gupta. But if I raise my placard, then I am representing my committee, which can be anything. It can be the country of Bahrain, it can be the country of Uruguay, it can be the country of United States of America, and anything. Then is the passing or failure of DR. The draft resolution is voted on and a simple majority determines its outcome. So again, because of this voting procedure, and if there is a simple majority, then the DR is passed. Next slide, please. Thank you. Then we also have some other motions. Like right now, we studied two motions, which was moderated caucus and then was unmoderated caucus. Then we also have motion to suspend debate. So this is raised when you are supposed to temporarily suspend the debate. For example, if you want to go for a break, you want to go for a high tea, or you want to go for the lunch. That is when the motion to suspend debate is raised. That is, you are taking a break or you are suspending the committee temporarily. Then a motion to appeal the chair's decision. So, for example, if there is your chair and you feel that your chair has made some serious error, and this whatever the decision chair has said, it should not have happened, then is when we raise the motion to appeal the chair's decision. And in order to it basically questions the chair's decision, whatever decision chair has taken, whether it is right or not. And in order to pass this motion, you require a special majority, that is two-thirds. Then is motion to adjourn the debate. This is when we want to conclude the meeting, or when the conference is ending, or when the committee sessions is ending. That is when we say adjourning the debate. Then that is when the motion to adjourn the debate is raised. For example, you are done with day one. That is when you raise the motion to adjourn the debate. Okay. Then is ROPs, rules of procedure, which is first one is speaking time. Each delegate is allotted a specific speaking time ranging from 1 to 2 minutes to present their viewpoints and ask questions during the debate. The speaking time may vary based on the discretion of the committee's chairs. So, speaking time, as the name suggests, it is the time during which you present your views and you speak. It usually ranges from 60 seconds to 2 minutes, and it depends on your chair, and it depends on your chair's discretion how much time they want to give you, whether it is 1 minute, whether it is 60 seconds, it is 90 seconds, or it is 120 seconds. Then is placard system. To be recognized to speak, raise your placard and wait for the committee chairs to acknowledge you. Keep your placard visible throughout the debate. As I've already said, placard is basically representative of your portfolio, and you have to ensure that every time you want to speak, you raise your placard. And you should keep your placard raised until you're acknowledged by your chair. And then make sure that wherever you are sitting, your placard is clearly visible so that the chairs can easily notice you, and acknowledge your points and everything. That is respectful conduct. So this is like one of the main and most important points, which is respectful conduct. That is how you should behave in a committee. In a youth parliamentary debate, you are not representing yourself. You are representing a parliamentarian, or in an conclave, you are representing a country, and hence your respectful conduct becomes very important. You are supposed to use parliamentary language and parliamentary etiquette. That is, you may not interrupt other delegates. You should speak in a very polite manner. You should, yes, there should be debates. You should raise your points, but that should be done in a very respectful manner. And there should be no disrespect of other delegate of any other person. And there should be a decorum and dignity that should be maintained all throughout the conference. Then is research and preparation. Again, if you are coming to a debate, if you are coming to a youth parliamentary debate by ED, then you should be very well aware of your research. You should be very well aware about what your country's stance is in regard to our portfolio. And then also research. Why does research become important? Because you are supposed to raise points of order, you are supposed to raise POIs, and if you have enough research, then you can question other countries. So your research and your preparation becomes very important. For example, if you are given an agenda of Article 19A, and you know nothing about it, then you will go through the internet, you will surf, and you will know about it. You will get your research done. You will get to know what each parliamentarian stance is on it. Like what does one party, what does BJP has to say about it? What does Congress has to say about it? And what does your portfolio has to say about it? So that is where research becomes important. And the more you research, more you will be able to participate, because you will be raising more POIs, you will be raising more point of orders and everything. Then is constructive engagement. Constructive engagement is again when you raise a POI, make sure that your POI is valid and it makes sense. And you should have well-reasoned arguments to everything. That is, if you are arguing with someone, if you are presenting your point, make sure your points have all facts, figures correct. And you should have basic analytical and reasoning skills. That is, whenever you are going with an argument, make sure you're not interrupting anyone or you're not talking over someone else, and try to hear the other person first and then present your points, and make sure your points have all facts, figures, and everything in your point is well reasoned, well analyzed. Then is the use of parliamentary language. This I hope I have already cleared, that you should use your clear language, you should be very concise, you should not be using, very technical terms that confuse other participants and everything. So that is, and you should speak very politely, you should maintain the decorum of the committee and everything. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. Then is time management. Time management is basically when you are given a speaking time, then you are given a time of just 60, 90, or 120 seconds. So it is important that you manage your time according to that. Let's say that if I am given 60 seconds only, then I need to ensure that my speech is so packed, so full of facts, figures, and knowledge that in 60 seconds I am able to deliver all my points. And you should be able to organize your thoughts accordingly, and you should see like what points are important and what should I say first, so that other may if I am lacking somewhere or anything, then it does not matter if I'm out of time, then my weakest points will not be there, only the points that are of most importance, that are there because I prioritize them. Then is active listening. Again, this point is very important. The reason being that if you're listening to other delegates, if you're paying attention to the committee, then you will know what is happening in the committee and what the other delegate is speaking. And then you will be able to question them. You will be able to pinpoint their inaccuracies. And you will be able to raise points of information, point of order, and everything. So then active listening becomes very important. Also, if you're listening to someone, that also means that you are showing respect towards them. So hence, active listening becomes very important. Then is collaboration and compromise. We open to collaboration of finding common ground with other delegates. Successful debates involve the ability to negotiate and reach compromises to achieve mutually beneficial outcomes. So again, it is collaboration and compromise. Let's say that I'm a delegate of I am a delegate of USA, and there is something in my country that is known as abortion laws. And then there are other countries and other delegates who are against me for it. Then I must reach to some other, some common ground. We all must reach, because in the end, the whole purpose of forming a committee is to find solutions to that agenda. So hence it is important for all the delegates, if not all, then most of the delegates, to reach a common ground and find solutions. Hence here compromise becomes a very important thing, that you should listen to other delegates, you should listen to their points, their viewpoints, and then finally reach a common base and a common ground where you can finally achieve some solutions and you can finally come up with some beneficial outcomes. Again, decorum. Decorum is basically you should dress appropriately. First thing, that you should be in the dress code in order to maintain a personal, professional appearance. So, why does clothing become so important? Because if you are dressed professionally, then it gives a view that you are well versed and you know everything. Even though, again, but you should be there and you should be dressing appropriately according to whatever the dress code is given. Then is respect the venue rules and regulations. Then it means that you should not go there. Then it means that you should not go there. Then there should be, again, you should be punctual, you should be attentive and everything. Then what are the tips and tricks? Now this is an interesting part. that we should practice debating. Like before coming to the committee, you should engage in mock debates with your fellow participants. Try to debate, try to prove your points so that when you are in the committee, you have some skills to show. Then there should be structuring of your arguments. And how to be structured then? It was basically prioritizing. Prioritizing which arguments are the most important. Like if you know there are 5 countries who are speaking and speaking and speaking. And I know that I have some points that are against them. Like for all the 5 countries I have points that are against and I can question them. Then I need to ensure that like for which country I should raise a point. Because it is not enough for the chair to recognize you 5 times. Because the chair has to recognize other people as well. So in that case, you need to see ki, where should you actually raise your point and where can you get the most points. That is where structuring of your arguments comes in. Then is body language. That is an again very important thing. That how you act and how you behave while speaking and how do you maintain your body language. That is very important. That is when you are speaking, you should be standing up, standing up straight or sitting up straight in order to make sure that it gives an idea that you are attentive and not you're lying in the committee or enjoying your leisure time in the committee. So you should be very, very careful with your body language. Then there is examples and stories. That is when you are debating, use real life examples. For example, if I am debating against abortion laws, then I will give examples of number of people who have died in USA because of abortion laws, because abortion is banned there. So I will be using real life stories, real life examples of people or women who have gone through this horror of banning of abortion laws. So that is where your examples and your research also comes handy because if you have research, then you know the facts, you know examples, you know stories. And yes, next slide, please. Yes, okay. So moving on, we have practice impromptu speaking. That is, you should be speaking at the moment. That there are a lot of times in the committee when you do not get time to properly research or you do not get time to properly frame your speeches. That is when your skill of speaking comes in. That you should be well versed enough and you should be skilled enough and you should be learned enough to know that when you are supposed to speak any random topic and how can you practice that it is that choose any random topic and start speaking about it and start getting some important arguments to prove yourself wrong. That is when the practice of speaking impromptu speaking comes in. Then there is stay calm and composed. This is very important because many of us will be first timers, many of you all will be first timers, and then it is very normal to be nervous, and it is very normal to have shaky hands and get anxious and everything. Then what you need to do is you need to take deep breaths and you should calm yourself because in the end, it is not important that who wins, it is important that we all learn. Everyone there is going to learn something or the other thing. Even your chairs, they will be learning something from you. So that is where the idea of being calm and composed comes in. Then is be open to learning. That is approached as an opportunity to learn from others. And if even if you are a new person, and even if you are someone who is very new to debates and very new to YPDs, then also you should then also it's important that you should be calm, be composed, and even if you are a newbie, persons or delegates are going to learn from you one thing or the other, be it your research, be it your analytical skills, be it your reasoning skills, be it your calm attitude, or be it your comebacks and savageness. Something or the other thing the delegates are going to learn from you. And also, you should be open to learning. That is, if someone is correcting you, if someone is correcting your mistakes, and if someone is telling you what is right and what is wrong, then you should listen to them and you should be able and you should be lenient enough to make sure that you are learning. Practice summarizing. Develop the skill of summarizing others' documents concisely and accurately. This shows respect for viewpoints and helps you synthesize information effectively. That is, when you are listening to other person or you are listening to other delegates or other arguments, then you should summarize them so that you are well aware of what the other delegates spoke. And then if you want to question them, you can question them in a very brief manner and not just recite their whole speeches. And then is use visual aids if allowed. So in many committees, visual aids are not allowed, and in many, visual aids are allowed. That depends on the discretion of your chair. So if visual aids such as PPTs or props or anything is allowed, then you should use them strategically to support your arguments. And you should keep them simple, clear, and not very messy, not very, over the top. You should keep them simple, clean, and relevant. Then is seek feedback. After debate, seek feedback from your peers, committee chairs, or mentors. Reflect on your strengths, areas for improvement to enhance your debating skills. This is again very important part. And this is what we all should do. Even if you are experienced, even if you are someone who is very new to it, we all should seek for feedback. Because if you are going for feedback, then you are basically getting an inner reflection of what your debating skills are. You will get to know what are your strengths in debating, what are your weaknesses in debating. And you should seek your feedback from your other delegates, your committee chairs, or even your mentors. And that is how you'll be able to improve your debating skills in future conferences. Again, for some additional basic guidelines, we have raising placards. That is, in order to raise a placard, you should lift it above your head and you should hold it steady.
Excuse me, Ananya. So we already have covered these points, so let's end this session अभी हम 5 मिनट डाउट विंडो खोलते हैं जो भी बच्चों के डाउट्स काफ़ी डाउट्स हैं so let's answer these doubts up and then we can close the session ठीक है अनन्या
Sure, sir.
perfect just give me a second मैं एक बारी बस बच्चों के कमेंट्स ही पढ़ उनमें से कौन से डाउट्स हमारे अभी तक आंसर नहीं हुए तो मैं उनको ऐड कर दूं
Sure. Okay. So here's a doubt that ma'am is a delegate of the committee is saying that is wrong. So can we use point of order? Yes. So that is Ranjana where we use the point of order correctly. That if the delegate, whatever he or she is saying, there is a factual inaccuracy in that point, then that is when we use point of order and we make sure that the point there is correct and we are supposed to point out that factual inaccuracy. For example, if the delegate said that India got independence in 1945, then and you know that that is wrong, so then that is when you raise your placard and you raise point of order, and then you correct that factual inaccuracy. Correct. Ma'am, if you do not have any, then you do. Yes. Again, that depends on the discretion of the chair. If the chair feels that your speech was very powerful and there are a lot of delegates that are eager to question you, then that is when on the discretion of the chair can attend to POIs. And the okay, so that's basically an OS is usually between 60 seconds to 90 seconds. Ruby, this is for you. Our main speech, that is, I hope you are talking about the OS. So OS is usually between 60 seconds to 90 seconds, and in that time you can deliver your speech. Yes, you are not supposed to use mobile phones for searching in the committee. You should be well versed with your research prior. So no, you should not use mobile phones while searching in the committee because it would be unfair to other delegates who have already researched them. So using phones is bad in the committee or using any sort of internet. Correct. No. Wikipedia, can we use Wikipedia? No. Wikipedia is not a reliable source of information because Wikipedia is a dynamic web page, in which the information can be edited very easily, and hence Wikipedia is not used as a reliable source of information. So Wikipedia is a no-no in this.
परफेक्ट। सो आई गेस यहाँ पे हमारे डाउट्स खत्म होता है एंड स्टूडेंट जिन्होंने ड्रेस कोड पूछ रहे हैं, फर्स्ट डे इट्स इंडियन, सेकेंड डे इट्स वेस्टर्न। जो कमेटी का जो नेशनल प्रेस में से रिपोर्ट्स वगैरह के डाउट्स पूछ रहे हैं, आपकी रिपोर्ट्स ऐसे नहीं है आपने 2 पेजेस की लिखी खत्म हो गया, नो। आपको वर्ड लिमिट मिलेगी दैट इज 500 to 800 वर्ड्स एंड उसके बीच में आपने लिखनी है। ऑल दीज बेसिक डाउट्स आर, इसके आंसर सारे बैकग्राउंड गाइड में दिए, जस्ट गो थ्रू देम। एंड इन केस डेलीगेट्स आपके कुछ और डाउट्स रहते हैं, फील फ्री टू टेक्स्ट मी। ऑलरेडी आपको जो रिमाइंडर्स आते हैं उस नंबर से आप उस पर टेक्स्ट कर सकते हो। एंड कल हमारा लास्ट ट्रेनिंग सेशन होगा, सो मेक श्योर आप भी ज्वाइन करो एंड आपके दोस्त वगैरह भी ज्वाइन करें। एंड कल हम सारा ब्रीफ में बात करेंगे, क्या क्या अभी तक हमारी बातें हुई हैं एंड क्या क्या चीज़ें रह गई हैं। सो टुमारो देर विल बी द लास्ट ट्रेनिंग सेशन, मेक श्योर यू ज्वाइन टाइम पे एंड हम उसको ख़त्म भी जल्दी कर देंगे फिर। थैंक यू सो मच अनन्या। डू यू वांट टू ऐड समथिंग एंड में?
No, no, Murli, that's it. But delegates, please make sure that you are well researched and see you all at the day of the conference.
Perfect. Thank you so much, delegates. Take care.